Very good. Well, welcome everyone to this presentation by Geopalm's node Culturas Cartográficas. Today we have a very exciting presentation. So this will be a preview of the important exhibition Carte Imaginaire, Imaginaire des Cartes at the BNF at the François Mitterrand site, which will take place from March to July of 2026. And presenting this exhibition are the two organizers of it, Cristina Ion and Julie Garel-Grislinde of the BNF. And it's a great opportunity for us to have a preview of this exhibition. So I'm very excited to have them both here talking about it and showing us many images from it. So with that, Cristina and Julie, please, the forum is yours.
Thank you, Chet. Thank you so much. So we are delighted to give this talk about our exhibition in progress, and we would like to warmly thank Chet for inviting us. So first we shall start by introducing ourselves. So I'm Cristina Ion. I'm a map curator and the deputy director of the map department at the Bibliothèque nationale de France. And Julie Garel-Grislinde, she's also a map curator, and she's the head of the conservation service in the map department, and we are both historians. So we are both curating this exhibition, which is called for now Cartes Imaginaires, Imaginaires des Cartes. The title might change. We do not control this, which we could translate in English by Imaginary Maps, Imaginary of Maps. Our presentation will be organized as follows. We will begin by a short introduction with a general theme. We'll ask basically what is an imaginary map, and we will present the general outline of the exhibition, and then we organize the exhibition in 4 parts, and each of us is responsible for 2 parts. I will present part 1 and 4, and then Julie will present part 2 and 3. And so we will show you our favorite maps in each part of the exhibition. And so you will understand that this presentation will be just a huge teasing for this exhibition, which will take place at the BNF François Mitterrand between March and July 2026. I shall share my screen. Well. Where is it? Why it doesn't work? I'm very sorry. I don't see the screen. Yes. Can anyone see it? Can everyone see it?
Yes, if
Okay,
you could make it full screen mode, that would be great.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you.
That's great. So, well, what is an imaginary map? We will focus basically on maps of imaginary lands. That is, imagined places, mythical places, but also maps of fiction and maps of literary maps of fictional maps in world building. So imaginary is considered as an adjective, but there is also imagery of the maps. So we were talking here about maps that have an imaginary. That means as a graphic representation. The map is basically the result of a conceptual process of abstraction, which leads to the fact that map is not the territory, so is also a cultural artifact. So we understand imaginary like the imaginary dimension of every map. The exhibition focuses of maps of imagined lands and maps of fiction in literature. It offers a journey in 4 stops. Visitors will follow an ascending gradation in the notion of imaginary, organized according to an increasing distance from reality. So the 4 parts are the following. The first one is dedicated to unexplored worlds. So we will show here maps of the margins of the known world, inhabited by fabulous creatures. The second part is on legendary places, that is, places that were imagined to be real and which cartographers endeavor to place on a map, like the Paradise or Atlantis. The third part will reach the next step in the imaginary and will be dedicated to literary worlds, so fictional worlds created by novels and fantasy. And the fourth part, it will be dedicated to the imaginary of the maps, and it's called Worlds of the Map. So we will focus here on the shapes and on symbolic forms, on allegorical representations and art creations based on cartography. So the idea here is to go beyond fiction and also to consider the map as a form of expression that is not always meant to represent a geographical information or geographical realities. So as this exhibition is intended to very large audience. It aims to establish a poetic, a playful and colorful visit experience, which fuels literary and geographic imagination. So it will be more like an escapist adventure than like a critical approach of space and society. So I shall proceed. This is a more a detailed outline of the 4 parts. On the first one, it's a geographical itinerary, which will take the visitors of the 4 continents, 5 continents. I shall start by that one. Let's start with the unexplored worlds. So here, the exhibition begins with a geographical journey that takes the visitor to 5 continents, to the frontiers of known lands. And the focus here is on cartographic iconography and on fabulous figures from ancient sources and religious texts. So let's go now. To begin, we will show this beautiful manuscript by 15th century manuscript, which is a manuscript from kept in Brussels at the Bibliothèque Royale de Belgique. And it's a copy of the La Fleur des Histoires, this world map from La Fleur des Histoires. So one should remain very modest while speaking of monsters and the monstrous in cartography in the presence of Chet van Duzer. But This world map is known for being one of the two mentions of the let's say more the expression Hic sunt dragones, here are dragons. So this is inserted this in this manuscript copy of de la Fleur des Histoires, and this legend of the dragons that populate the waters is and oceans is associated with the anxious, imaginary, and unknown spaces, and it's in fact very rare on ancient maps. It is mentioned only in this world map and on the Hunt Lennox globe, which is kept at the New York Public Library. So this phrase accompanies a winged dragon. It's around here. The dragon is here, and serves so to designate the surrounding ocean as a place of terrors, which contrasts with a piece of the inhabited world, which is inside the circle. If we move forward, will be one liminary piece, the introduction. If we move forward to Asia, so the idea is to show our most splendid treasures. We are here, we have two examples here. The first one is the Catalan Atlas, and the other one is the Miller Atlas. So the Catalan Atlas, which comes from the Department of the Manuscripts of the BNF. Here we'll display a description of Asia, which is based on Marco Polo's account. So on the plate show here, we have Asia extending, the world extending from India and the island of Ceylon to the China Sea. We have some sorts of commercial information and religious and symbolic information, but also we have a few fabulous creatures which come from the ancient and medieval traditions. Man-eating giants, mermaids with double fish tails, people living naked and feeding on raw fish, related to the ichthyophagy described by Pliny and Solinus. And the other one is a page taken from the Miller Atlas representing the Magnusinus with a very graphic representation here of a griffon. I don't know what to say in English, sorry. So we shall move forward to the imagination of the Northern Europe. So the Northern Europe is a place which in which we find an abundance of monsters. We have three classic images. The first one, the source of all this monstrous imaginary in Northern Europe is the Carta Marina by Olaus Magnus. This we will present in the exhibition copper engraved page taken from a Roman Lafreri Atlas, which is far smaller than the original 1539 woodcuts, but it's still very, very, very beautiful. And the other ones are, of course, Sebastian Münster, the Monstra Marina and Terrestria. In here we chose a French edition, translation by François de Belforest, and of course Islandia by Ortelius, and this map of Iceland by Ortelius was introduced for the first time in 1590 in his atlas and was repeated in all the subsequent editions. And we will see here a very adequate cartography of the island and a very rich monster populations in the surrounding waters. We move forward then to the Terra Australis, and our main work here, one of my favorites, is the Cosmographie universelle by Guillaume Le Testu. Le Testu was a Protestant cartographer and a navigator from Le Havre, and who is usually associated with the so-called Norman hydrographic school, influenced by exchanges with Portuguese cartographers. And all these cartographers represent a vast southern land in the southern hemisphere, often connected to an entity named the Great Java. So this superb, richly illuminated atlas contains 56 maps covering all the world, and almost a half of it is dedicated to the Terra Australis. This Le Testu gives an important place to the southern continent. This is, of course, in continuity with the ancient traditions of the antipodes, which were supposed to counterbalance the northern hemisphere, the inhabited world. And this southern land is abundantly illustrated with natural landscapes and human activities and some bizarre creatures, like these Panotians, for instance. These are a people with a very large ear, which were supposed to serve as a blanket for sleeping while they're sleeping, for instance. So I chose this this page because actually Le Testu was very he nevertheless acknowledged that these representations are imaginary. So the imaginary, the fabulous creatures are not a proof of ignorance of all these cartographers who were very learned, sometimes very learned and very gifted people. This was more to show that the imagination of yet to be discovered lands was a fuel to exploration. So Le Testu, it acknowledged that the representations are imaginary, and he writes in this Cosmographie universelle that it's only by imagination. This is only a land that I drafted by imagination, since I cannot describe any of its features, for which reason I will cease to speak of it until a more extensive discovery has been made. So we'll see this vast southern land on this map, world map by Camocchio, printed in Venice in 1593. We move forward to the New World, of course, by this page taken from the Miller Atlas on Brazil, which is well-known representation of the native people in Brazil with cutting wood, which gave the name to the country. And we were trying to, as an interlude, and we were trying to place on the itinerary some contemporary works of art inspired by cartography. And this is a work by a quite young artist, Julien Discrete, and it's a maps of French Guiana. So based on the national IGN, the National Office for Geographical Information in France. And Guyana, it's well known to be very difficult to map because of the aerial surveys are very difficult to make because of the clouds. So here the clouds were cut in the map. So this is in order to show that the blank spaces on the map are actually in the eye of the beholder. So the last stop in this geographical itinerary will be Africa, which bears the same exotic features here on the Portolan chart of Juan Martinez, coming from the Bibliothèque de l'Arsenal, with a mix of real and imaginary animals. And we focused on a geographical myth, and here it's the myth of the sources of the Nile, both in Ptolemy and in Al-Idrisi. And here we will show a remarkable Arabic manuscript from the late 13th to the early 14th century, which is the oldest known today of the Al-Idrisi geography. So here Al-Idrisi perpetuates the tradition of Ptolemy, the information that there are several watercourses emanating from the mountains of the moon and flow into two lakes, which then gave birth to a unified river. So in conclusion, this first part, this is another contemporary work of art called Marteloir by David Renaud. So here the artist, there's a whole series of it. He brings together two cartographic traditions, the modern one, which represents water in blue, and he also combined this with a network of rhumb lines characteristic of the Portolan charts and called Marteloir. Julie?
Ouais, super. Donc, Cristina has just taken us to the edges of unexplored lands populated by fabulous creatures. I will now invite you to take a further step into cartographic imagination, exploring two fascinating realms. First, legendary worlds, those places believed to be real by cartographers, but they attempted to locate these places. And then literary worlds, those entirely fictional geographies born from writer's pen. Alors, je pense que j'ai mis une petite slide, tu peux voir. Après. Ouais, parfait. While the first part of the exhibition showed us how imagination invites itself into the representation of reality, we now cross a threshold. Legendary worlds are imaginary places that were believed to be real. Cartographers always sought to find them a tangible location on Earth and trace their contours. Blending reality and wonder, maps literally bring these mythical places into being. So Atlantis, the kingdom of Prester John, or El Dorado take shape and placed on the surface of the globe. On peut passer à la suivante. Let's begin with Atlantis, that sunken continent described by Plato. We choose different documents and try to present a dialogue across eras and media. Here, you have an engraved map from 1775, preserved at the Bibliothèque nationale de France, which proposes a location for Atlantis. Alors, carte de l'Atlantide d'après Platon et Diodore, donc according to Plato, and geodories. You can see the cartographer attempts to give precise geography. The island unfold between Spain, France, Italy, and North Africa. You can see the contours are traced with the exact same rigor as for any real territory, and the map testifies to an area when people still sought to physically locate ancient narratives. Next to this map, tu peux passer à la suivante. We present a preparatory drawing by Annabelle Duard for Sèvres porcelain service created in 1999. And you can see the certain pieces from this service, which are bowls on a mirror tray that reflects the designs echoing the water elements of Atlantis. We can see that Annabelle Duard tried to give a new vision of the Atlantean myth. Her sketches show a broken, almost liquid continent where land masses seems to float. The palette of blues, greens evoke both the sea that engulfs the continent and fading memory. We also display a screenshot you can see here on your screen from the video game Assassin's Creed Odyssey by Ubisoft. And in this gaming universe, Atlantis is reborn as a perfect circular city with concentric rings of water and land, exactly as Plato described it then. Players can literally walk through this maze. And all of these artifacts perfectly illustrates how a single myth, Atlantis here, travels through centuries and media to reinventing its own myth. Parfait, super. Next, Phantom Island and Legendary Kingdoms. Here you have a map by Messia de Villadestes. Sorry for the Spanish accent. And this map takes us toward other mythical territories. Messia de Villadestes scattered legendary places throughout the null space that was still being searched for at that time. Oui, alors là, tu peux faire des petits... J'ai fait plein de petites captures. Ouais, vas-y, tac, encore. We notably find the kingdom of Prester John, that mythical Christian sovereign located sometime in Asia, sometime in Africa, whose aid was up for against Muslim. You can see how Messia de Villadestes represent him, seated on a throne, crowned, holding symbols of power. And he is not relegated to a fantastical margin. He is really inscribed in geography, as if he could actually be reached by navigation. And in the same map, yes, you have another legend, the one of Saint Brendan, an Irish monk from the 6th century, who said to discover a paradise-like island during his wandering. Alors, tu peux cliquer encore. Parfait. And this island would appear on maps until the 18th century, moving with exploration, always just beyond the horizon of known lands. We also present a map of Ortelius. Parfait. That still mentions it. Pareil, tu peux. Parfait. Testifying this extraordinary long life on maps of an island that never existed. And you can see that Ortelius also drew Friesland, Drageo, or Brazil. Next. After this earthly step, we move between earth and sky to see a section with a boundary between earth and heaven. This exhibition offers here a survey of a major cosmological conception, Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. We can begin with le Beatus d'Arroyo. Après, ouais, super. It's a 13th century Spanish manuscript preserved at the BNF. You can see the circular world map illustrates Beatus of Leviana's commentary on the Apocalypse. On the top, the earthly paradise, from which rivers flow, Earth divided according to the three known continents, Asia, Europa, and Africa. And we can see the eschatological inscription elements of the cartographer in this geographical world. It's as much a map of the world as a map of time from creation to Last Judgment. The brilliant colors, deep blues, vibrant reds, give this map a dimension that is both earthly and heavenly. We can now turn to the Islamic world with this 13th century manuscript by Ibn al-Wardi, donc la perle des merveilles, which presents a circular map, which presents a vision of the world where geography blends with cosmography. The ocean surrounds inhabited lands, and at the center, Mecca occupies the heart of the world. It's a sacred geography where the spiritual determines spatial organization. Asia offers equally fascinating conception. Tu peux bouger sur la slide suivante. Parfait. Here you are. Korean Shonen map from the Joseon dynasty. It's literally a map of the world under the heavens, which propose a Buddhist vision of the cosmos. You can see the territorial world represented by a concentric circle surrounding by a cosmic ocean in which float islets representing other mythical continents. This small engraving condenses an entire spiritual universe. And next to it, we also present a piece loaned from the Guimet Museum. It's our National Asian Art Museum. And here you are a representation of the kingdom of Shambhala. It's a sacred place in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, supposedly hidden somewhere in the Himalayas. In this 19th century painting, you have a perfectly circular kingdom protected by an impossible to cross mountain chain. At the center, the palace, surrounded by gardens and temples. And Shambhala is not just a geographic place, it's a spiritual state, yet it's mapped with as much precision as a real city. This sacred map reminds us that all cartography is also a worldview, a cosmology. And then, part 3, grades. We move from a legendary world to literary worlds. We take another step in the imagination. Here, fiction completely breaks free from any claim to reality. Imaginary maps give life to fictional worlds and expand their possibilities. The map becomes a powerful tool of novelistic persuasion. This journey proposes a gradation from utopias to fantasy universes, passing through realist literature, adventure stories, and children's books. And we will see that at each stage, the map plays a different role. So here, Utopia opens this section because they stand at the boundary. Ideal societies imagined by philosophers, but presented as if they could exist somewhere. Here, it's a map by Abraham Ortelius, a map of Utopia, and it gives shapes to the island imagined by Thomas More. It looks very much like a real map, and that's it's so impressive. Next. I'm sorry, we speed to have a lot of images to show you. Giving the narrative the grain of reality. With Faulkner or Thomas Hardy, we enter a fascinating use of cartography, giving completely invented worlds the validation of reality. Here, the map of William Faulkner draws from Epsilon in 1936 is quite extraordinary. It's really a property map with roads, river properties. We have Jefferson, the main town, precisely located, and here and there places where novel events occur, which are indicated. Example, where Christmas was killed, Stephen's polarization, etc. This map transforms fiction into territory and give the Faulknerian South a geography as real as that of actual Mississippi. It's an act of demiurgic creation. Through the map, the writer becomes the sole owner of a world that exists only on his books. And we could see the same process in Thomas Hardy with his Wessex. Here, this fictional Northern England place. We have the map of Tess d'Uberville, who shows how a novelist can build a matching landscape. Hardy's Wessex is based on actual Dorset, but changed to fit the plot. It's a territory both familiar and other. Next step, it's adventure novels. It's a step off the beaten path because with adventure novels, the map becomes an integral part of the narrative itself. The perfect example is obviously Treasure Island by Stevenson. The very story of this map is fascinating. Stevenson drew it before writing the novel for his stepson. It was by contemplating this imaginary island that the plot came to him. We show many examples of this island that has become legendary. First, this 1896 edition with this engraved map. You can see the control line, the compass, the mysterious annotation. The map has all the codes of an authentic pirate document. Skeleton Islands, unfortunately you can't see very well, but Skeleton Island, Spyglass Hill, etc. Each name evokes adventure. Then, next to him, the 1934 edition illustrated by Monroe, where the island text on covers, it's more childish map. And we can see an evolution with each edition, which each illustrator of these treasure islands. We will show a caption from the 1934 film directed by Victor Fleming. And here the map becomes a cinematographic object, a document that characters manipulate on screen. Treasure Island here has left the book to become a place in the collective imagination. Then we move on children's literature. We entitle it From the 100 Acre Wood to the Land of Oz. Why? Because children's books use maps in a very special way. They invite us to step inside the book to become heroes in magical worlds. Here you are a wonderful map by William Slee, entitled An Ancient Map of Fairyland, and is a panorama of the marvelous. In this long, you can see it, it's a long lithograph, you can find Sleeping Beauty Castle, Bluebird's Castle, Rapunzel Tower, and so on. It's a geography of fairy tale that gathers all the story of our childhood into one Korean territory, this big island. You can notice the graphic treatment that pastiche ancient maps with sea monster and decorative cartouche. We also see the influence of the arts and crafts movements. Next, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, it's a big classic. It's illustrated by Ernst Howard Shepard and offers us a more intimate map, that of 100 Acre Woods. This little hand-drawn map at the beginning of the book, as you can see, the touching note drawn by me and Mr. Shepard helped with a spelling mistake as if Christopher Robin himself had traced it. We see Pooh's House, Piglet's Burrow, Australia, and it's a child map with its whimsical north indicated by to the North Pole. It's approximate proportion, but it makes the forest into an adventure place at Bibliothèque. We will also present a Peter Pan board game from 1953, produced by Disney, where the imaginary island literally becomes a playing field. The map becomes ludic, you can move pieces on it, you can follow routes. Neverland turns into a cardboard. And let's conclude with Miyazaki and his poster for Kiki's delivery service. Here you can see the city is seen from above by the little witch in flight and becomes a mental map and invitation to travel. We now arrive at one of the art of this section, fantasy and its secondary worlds. It's obviously with Tolkien that fictional cartography reaches unparalleled scope and coherence, and we are very happy to have some very big loans from the Bodleian Library, like this map of Middle-earth, and also, tu peux passer à la suivante. This first map for the Hobbit, which is quite fascinating. You can see it's drawn in pencil and pen. It's really like a treasure map with mysterious runes. It's lonely mountain. The finger, the spider here. Well, I love this map. Tolkien wasn't just a writer. He was a very meticulous cartographer. You can see it on the other map. He built his worlds by drawing their geography. The map of Rohan, Gondor, and Mordor show the extent of Middle-earth. It's the work of an imaginary geographer with its mountains, chain, rivers, forests. And you can see Tolkien calculated distance, travel times. He built a geographical coherence, which was very important as a narrative coherence. The exhibition highlights an essential collaboration. Tu peux passer à la suivante. The collaboration between Tolkien and Pauline Baynes. Pauline Baynes plays a major role in Tolkien cartography. Here you have a beautiful map of Middle-earth, which transforms Tolkien sketches into a work of art. We have a lot of details, little illustration of the Fellowship of the Ring, the decorative motifs, the creatures of the margins, the colors at different regions. Baynes creates here an object that is both geographical and narrative, and visually tells the story of the Lord of the Rings while mapping its space. What's remarkable is that Baynes, no, c'était tout avant, pardon, is collaborated with both Tolkien and Lewis. And we will present a map of Narnia, which shows similar style, elegant lettering, decorative richness, and close attention to detail. All these maps created and established a standard. From now on, every great fantasy saga must have its map. Tu peux passer à la suivante. Encore après. And we will present a map of Terry Pratchett. Tu l'as pas? Si, parfait. It's Terry Pratchett Discworld. It's a flat world carried by 4 elephants on the back of a cosmic turtle. And Pratchett ironically plays with the code of fantasy cartography. It's a true parody of mapping convention. You can see the angel blowing winds is a very old guy. The sea monsters are pictured like little fish, little fishes, and so on. Projects take up all classic cartographic cartographic codes like compass, rose, sea monster, cartouche, etc., but with ironic distance. The final section of this part shows us how contemporary fantasy has broken free from book format to generate transmedia universes that deploys at the same time in novels, video game series, etc. Here you have Dungeon and Dragon maps. Yes, and excuse me, here George Martin universe, which is an incontrollable universe for this fantasy worlds. Here you have the official map of Westeros. It's a big map in ochre and black tones, recalling medieval maps, while covering an immense territory. And next to him, you have one of the maps for the set he created. It's like a complete atlas of worlds that doesn't exist, of course. This level of cartographic detail testifies to contemporary world-building ambition. And of course, the television series opening credits. Unfortunately, we couldn't showcase it, but remember, it's a moving three-dimensional map that builds to the rhythm of the music and changes with each series according to the location of the action. The map become animation, become cinema. Let's conclude with video games, where maps become truly inhabitable, navigable, explorable, beaucoup de able. The map here of Skyrim, we present both the paper map provided with the game, map which pastiches medieval maps with its age parchment, and the screenshot of the interactive map in the game. Here in Skyrim, the map isn't an accessory. It's the main interface of the game. Players open their map, choose their destination, track their progression. The map is the tool that allows inhabiting the virtual world. And finally, Final Fantasy. We show the evolution of cartography in this famous saga. On one side, the world map from the first Final Fantasy, pixelated, simplified, but already readable. And in the other, the beautiful map from Final Fantasy XVI, with its age parchment like Skyrim, its Renaissance Portoland aesthetic, its ships, its compass radius. You can see in 35 years, video games have gone from simple maps to cartographic objects with graphic richness equal to the most beautiful ancient maps. What's remarkable is that these video games maps always borrow their visual vocabulary from ancient maps: parchment, illumination, calligraphy, sea monster. All the creators of virtual worlds draw from historical cartographic imagination to give authenticity and depth to their digital universe. To conclude, in traversing these two worlds, legendary one and literary ones, we've seen the map transform. In legendary worlds, it still seeks to anchor myth in reality. Atlantis, pre-Sturgeon kingdom, paradise, etc. In literary worlds, the map completely breaks free. It no longer pretends to locate, it creates. But surprisingly, it borrows all the code of real cartography to make its worlds credible. The map become livable spaces. We no longer just look at it, we move through it, like in the video game, explore it, transform it. Gaming communities create their own maps, endlessly extending worlds imagined by others. The next part of the exhibition, which Cristina will now present, will show us how the map itself become a work of art, a space of pure subjectivity, where geography gives way to poetry and metaphor.
So here we are in the last part of the exhibition. So here in the worlds of the map, so as if the map itself, it's a world of significance and shapes and conventions. So here we take a step away from geography. And this part considers the map as a system of conventions, but also for its highly evocative and conceptual possibilities that it offers. The idea is to show that a map is not what it seems to be, a scientific tool, what the cartographers would like it to be, a scientific tool to represent space. It can carry a diversity of meanings and purposes. And here in this part, we will focus on shapes and how the metaphorical interpretation of cartographic shapes used to represent the world find an extension in art. So let's move to shapes. So this part we focuses on what we usually call cartographic oddities, but not only this, but a large part of this we can be considered as cartographic oddities. So the maps in shape of animals. For instance, this beautiful Leobelgicus by Peter van den Keer. So the Leobelgicus, as you know, was introduced by Michael von Eyting in his work De Leone Belgico in 1583. This is the map of the Spanish Netherlands, depicted as a lion. Which came to carry a particular meaning in the context of the province's war of independence against Spain. We'll now move to a very specific cartographic genre, which are the satirical maps. So here we find the ancient tradition of giving places a form of human or animal form. This satirical maps gradually evolved from humor toward propaganda, favored by the progress of mass printing in the mid-19th century. And these maps, of course, draw on the idea that, which is very ancient, of attributing moral qualities to territories, transforming nations into animal or human figures. That recalls certain cartographic representations from the Renaissance. So this we have, first of all, the English illustrated Thomas Unwin, who inaugurated this serio-comic maps during the Crimean War at the middle of the 19th century. And then another prominent artist who was Frederick William Rose, who was a civil servant and an amateur artist who popularized the serio-comic maps during the war between Russia and Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, in 1877. And with this image of Russia as a tentacled octopus, which encountered a large audience and a big success. So here, we have the artists draw on this ability of the map to communicate a universal visual system. So here is about mapping one's personal identity, seen as an internal geography, by using the universal vocabulary of maps, with two examples, one by a well-known image by the artist Michael Drux, and the other one by a contemporary artist, Sergio Aquindo, called Lost in Himself. And one of the most important works displayed in this part is the Palatinus Latinus by Opicino de Canistris, which will come from the Bibliothèque Vaticana, and this particular page of Opicino shows how celestial and terrestrial worlds are entangled. And here we have the particular, the famous maps in human shapes, also present in the Vaticanus Latinus manuscript, which will not, alas, be present in the exhibition. This part will focus on metaphorical geometries. Here, the circle in an ancient form, and the contemporary form by British artist Chris Kenny. So from medieval maps to contemporary art, from medieval and Renaissance projections to contemporary artistic creations. Here, this is the metaphor of the mantle of the earth that can be seen in the Renaissance curtains, such as in the two projections of Ptolemy, here with a very beautiful Greek manuscript, and alongside with a contemporary work by a contemporary artist Brankica Zilovic, which works with tissue, with
Tissue, it's great.
Yeah. And these involuntary, non-voluntary, this is a very serious geological map by Harold Fisk, which maps natural phenomena. And the same artist, Julien Discrete, was inspired by this Mississippi, the course of the changes in the course of the Mississippi River, to create a contemporary work called Mille Mississippi. And to conclude with the sentimental and poetic geographies. So first of all, the heart-shaped maps, with the one that it's the most famous one, the Orensfien map, one of the two maps actually existing, the one from the Danville collections in our department, a colored engraved map, very beautiful and very rare. Of course, this is not an imaginary map. This is absolutely obvious, but the aim in this particular part is to show that maps are so they carry religious and symbolic meaning, and even the most scientific maps are subject to imagination. And the heart-shaped form was perpetuated by artistic traditions to nowadays in popular iconography. And of course, the carte de tendre, the map of tender, this allegorical map which transposes human experience onto a territory, taken from the taken from the Madeleine de Scudéry novel Clélie, Histoire romaine, so which became a graphic representation for the first time in 1654. Allegorical map of the, how do I say that, the feelings and passions and virtues and vices was first used in a figurative sense, and refers mostly to a social and a worldly competence, savoir la carte, which is not necessarily an image, but for the first time it became an image with Madeleine de Scudéry's novel, which is of course very famous, and it maps so sentimental discourse, becoming a model which was imitated, transformed, and parodied many times. And the principle of representing psychological, social, or moral aspects in the form of a spatial diagram endures and will spread over the following centuries. We'll still have maps nowadays mapping different diversity of things, following the model of the carte de tendre. And thank you all for your attention.
Well, Cristina and Julie, thank you very much for taking the time to share all this material with us. And we do have time for questions. Would anyone like to jump in?
Thank you for the hearts. There is a question. I saw a hand.
Was it Lisa?
Yes. No.
No? Well, I have a couple of questions.
No, sorry.
First...
I just I just gave an applause.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us how many items will be in the exhibition?
200.
200 items.
And I'm
sorry?
I'm intrigued by your methods for finding the modern works of art, because that's not typical cartographic research. So how did you go about finding the works that you chose, the modern artworks that you chose?
Well, actually, what we wanted to avoid is to have a special part dedicated to contemporary art inspired by cartography. So this is not a contemporary art exhibition, so it's a cartographic exhibition. So we looked mostly for contemporary works that match and echo ancient maps. Mm-hmm. So we wanted very specifically circles, mantles, and we did a part of the research ourselves, and we were helped by the BNF services. We are not curators in contemporary art, so so they're also very famous images, but most of all are young artists, which are not very known.
Uh-huh. Well, still, I can imagine that was a lot of work. So
yes.
it was fun to see those images.
Yes. They're Julien Discrete, Brankica Zilovic, David Renaud, Eric Fontenot. They're all living artists who were absolutely delighted to present their works. Chris Kenny. And there are works that are in art galleries, and we also bought some for our collections.
Very good. Yes. Other questions about the exhibition?
Mariana?
Hi, that was wonderful. I'm so sad I live in Reno, Nevada, and I'm so far away from Paris. That was it was for me. I just stepped into this role of being department chair, so this is my first research uh exposition in a couple of months, so it was very refreshing, and it's a wonder. I just wanted to say that it's a wonderful job, like that exhibition that you have put together, and I love I really like the methodology employed for the selection of maps, and what Chet was saying about how did you select those ones pertaining to the more contemporary world, and like it was a very like it felt very complete, like I felt I was there, even though I like La Bonne F and I would like to be in person. So I guess my question is just like out of curiosity, just like maybe an ingenuity, but so, and this is because you brought the topic of the contemporary reimaginations of these ancient maps, right? And I'm a person that constantly, like even though I've been living in Reno for 8 years now, if you ask me how I have to get into the store, I put my map, right? Like I put my GPS in my car, right? And I'm a very dependent person of that GPS, which is weird because it's the position of the subject in a space, but from the outer space. So it's kind of like another, like from satellites, and that's the vision we get. Anyways, I guess my question is like, do you see any of those traces of those ancient maps in these contemporary technologies that we use on a daily basis, like you were saying about shapes, about colors, forms, or anything like that? Like maybe this is just like food for thought, or just like yeah, it was just a curiosity.
I don't know, maybe it's cartography, it's all about conventions and symbols, and these are conventions that came to be, I mean, universally disseminated in the late 19th century, that maps became to look as much as we know them today. But I don't know, these are very, when we know how digital cartography is made, is just pieces of, I mean, virtual like textures. This is very abstract, actually. And I think some applications, like in Google, for instance, we can be immersed in the street view, for instance. That's it's. This is very realistic. This is quite a almost figurative way of representing space. I don't know if that answers your questions, but we wanted to show ancient maps because it's sort of a totally maybe different set of conventions that were in use back then, that totally totally different that those we are used to today, and it's a kind of surprise.
No,
for the-
I agree. Thank you so much, and I really like the argument about it's not only about the geographical representation, but the ideological representation of the map. But for instance, and it's like I just I just thought to myself, like all this controversy that has happened in the U.S. recently when they
Yes.
named the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
Now it's the Gulf of America, right?
Yeah.
And when I saw it in Google Maps, it was like, this is not about geography anymore,
Yes.
right? Like it's
It's
like we can
about power
see,
and
yeah, we can
ideology
see
and, you know.
throughout the 20th century, like examples of these ideological inputs into these geographical representations that I saw that like the continuing impact of these ancient
Yes.
maps, like that vision or that perception of maps still as ideological weapons to redefine space, even if
Yes.
it's imaginary or not.
Mhm.
And I
And
really
artists are very good in I mean, seizing this particular element in cartography by deconstructing the map and showing this. This why we try to not to have a discourse on the map. We try to avoid this because it's intended for a large audience. But by choosing work of arts, we made a choice to see how through art these what you point the relationship between the fact representing and naming places and ideology and domination and power.
thank you so much.
Other questions? Anyone? Well, if not, please join me in thanking Cristina and Julie for taking the time and the effort to give us this presentation, this wonderful preview of the exhibition. And we will all keep the dates of the exhibition in mind in case we have an opportunity to visit in person.
Okay, we will be delighted to welcome you at the exhibition next year. Yes. Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, thank
Bye.
you.